You know this pattern of stars, right? Almost everyone in the Northern Hemisphere does. We call it the Big Dipper. But what if I told you that for literally thousands of years, it's been holding a sacred story, hiding right there in plain sight?
Yeah, because in one of the oldest traditions on Earth, this isn't just a dipper or, a bear. It's actually a celestial reminder of 7, get this, mind-born sons of the creator god Brahma who were sent here to guide all of humanity.
Okay, so let's dive in. We're going to start by uncovering how this simple constellation was seen as something so much more, like a profound map of wisdom, a real secret hidden in the stars.
All right, so the first clue is right there in the name. In Sanskrit, it's called the Sapta Rishi Mandala. Let's break that down. Sapta, that means 7, and Rishi, that means sage or seer. So it's not just some random poetic name, it's a literal description. The 7 brightest stars we see are believed to be the 7 great sages.
So that begs the question, right? Who are these divine sages, the Sapta Rishi, that got immortalized in the night sky? Well, the Sapta Rishi are kind of the bedrock of Vedic lore. They're described as these fully awakened beings who totally get space and time and were basically appointed by the creator to look after our spiritual evolution over these huge, vast cycles of time called manvantaras.
And their influence? It's absolutely staggering. I mean, we are not talking about minor figures here. We're talking about the people who ancient texts say gave us the very cornerstones of Indian spiritual and scientific thought. Everything from the sacred hymns of the Vedas to the science of yoga, medicine, even astrology. They're considered the original teachers of the universe, the whole shebang.
Okay, so you'd think, for guys this important, there'd be one single official list of their names, right? Well, it turns out it's a little more complicated and honestly way more fascinating than that.
Trying to nail down the definitive list of the 7 sages, it's kind of like trying to find the one true recipe for a classic dish. It just changes depending on who you ask and when you ask them. In fact, the earliest Vedic texts that talk about the Sapta Rishi, they don't even list their names at all.
And you can see this right here. It's so interesting how this plays out across different ancient texts. The Jaiminiya Brahmana has one list, then you look at the Brihadaranyaka, Upanishad, and boom, they swapped out a sage. And then, get this, the Gopatha Brahmana lists 8 names. It really shows you that maybe the idea of the 7 sages was the crucial part, more so than the specific names on the roster. It was a living, evolving tradition.
To really get a feel for just how big these figures were, let's zoom in. Let's pick just one sage who pops up on the list a lot and whose stories are, well, they're just epic. So, let's talk about Agastya. Even his name hints at his power. One interpretation is mover of mountains. And he's a huge deal, a revered figure not just in India, but all the way into Southeast Asia. He's considered a father of Siddha medicine and even the Tamil language.
And his legends are just wow. First off, he wasn't born in a normal way. The story goes he just emerged from a mud pot. That's why he's sometimes called Kumbha Yoni. Then there's the famous story where he told the Vindhya mountains, which were growing and blocking the sun, to just bow down and stay down until he came back. And he never did, so they're still lowered. But maybe the most incredible story? The gods are trying to fight some demons who were hiding at the bottom of the ocean. So what does Agastya do? He just drinks the entire ocean, the whole thing, just to expose them. Unbelievable.
So you see, the main takeaway here is that these weren't just wise old men sitting under a tree. These were beings of immense, almost unimaginable cosmic power. I mean, the hero Rama himself says in the Ramayana that Agastya could do things that even the gods found impossible. That's the kind of power we're dealing with here.
Okay, so let's bring it all back. We know who the sages were, we know the kind of power they had. But that still leaves the big question. How did one specific list of 7 names get picked to be put up in the sky forever?
Even though the written text couldn't always agree, one particular roster of names found a way to become permanent. Not in a book, but through ancient Indian astronomy. This is the moment where the legend on Earth meets the map in the heavens.
And here it is. This is the final connection, laid out perfectly. If you start at the end of the dipper's handle, that star, Alkaid, that's the sage Marishi. The next one in, Mizar, that's Vasista. Then you've got Alioth as Angiras, Megris is Atri, Fekta is Pulashya, Mirak is Puhala, and the last one, Dubi, is Kratu. Every single star is a sage.
And there's this really beautiful little Easter egg hidden in this stellar family.
If you look really close at that middle star in the handle, Mizar, that's the sage Vasista, you might just spot a much tinier, fainter star right next to it. That little star is Alcor, and it represents his wife, Arundatia. They're seen as the perfect couple, a model of marital bliss. And fun fact, for centuries, being able to actually see the dimmer Alcor next to the bright Mizar was used as a real test for sharp eyesight.
So think about this. The next time you're outside on a clear night and you look up and spot that shape, remember, you're not just looking at a random collection of hot gas trillions of miles away. You're looking at a celestial monument, a tribute to the Sapta Rishi, the cosmic guides and the founding fathers of ancient wisdom.
And just to put the timeline into perspective, it's immense. There's one legend that says these 7 sages were the very first disciples of Shiva when he was Adiyogi, the first yogi, and they received the entire science of yoga from him 15,000 years ago. Just let that number sink in.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If a story this deep, this profound, can be hidden in the most familiar pattern in the night sky, what other ancient stories, what other incredible bits of wisdom are out there right now, just waiting for us to find them, hiding in plain sight?